Alright, let's start it off like a classic YouTube video and say the new Raycast model or whatever is in beta, and most importantly for me, it has tags for snippets, making it more better to organize all your snippet needs.
Today, it's finally out.
The new Raycast basically makes it so the new Windows beta and the new Mac OS beta match better, and they had to basically remake Raycast again in a sort of different way, while keeping all the same extensions working on both Windows and Mac.
This new version of Raycast has been completely rewritten from the ground up.
Along with whatever they're doing on iOS, because I have no idea. Personally, after coming back to the Mac version of Raycast, I ran back to Microsoft and am now using the beta version on Windows, which is awesome. More about that later. But the new beta version for Mac dropped halfway through making this video, but it's not all that different. It's just a lot more streamlined, the menus are a lot better, and everything lines up between different versions. Later in the video, we'll talk more about this, if it's worth it to pay for the Pro version, which Pro version, how I'm using Raycast, and all of that sort of thing. But first, let's backtrack and get into what I was gonna talk about before the Mac beta version came out. You know, with Apple's recent update in macOS and redoing Spotlight, I really did give it a shot getting rid of Raycast and trying the new Spotlight. But Raycast, despite its flaws of being developed by two ex-Facebook employees, which you can consider a flaw or not, is a very, very cool system. I got rid of Raycast and tried it out for like a month, using shortcuts and notes to use snippets and all sorts of weird janky stuff like that. But Raycast has become such a powerful tool in my arsenal that it was very, very difficult to go back, even if going back meant better than it was before. And now with Raycast also being available on Windows and me sort of caving because of certain audio codecs in Resolve that don't work in Linux, I am running back to Microsoft. I really, really hate Microsoft, but I have a powerful GPU. I guess that is for another video. Raycast being there when I get there does make the landing a bit softer. So in this video, we'll go over why I continue to use Raycast and my workflow, what it is, a bit of history of how it got started, how it rose to popularity, the people behind it, and how I implement it in my workflow, and how I think it blows all the other competitors out of the water by far, even if I do wish there was an open source model that did it as well. Plus, as I'm going back to Windows, I'll be trying it for the first time on a new platform. I'm Sean Martin, and like birds build nests, humans make technology, and you're watching Our Human Power. So what is Raycast? Well, it's kind of like Alfred. What's Alfred? Well, for those in the back, it's an app launcher in the macOS environment, a replacement for Spotlight, but even more than that, an upgrade for Spotlight. Almost all alternative launchers also have other features, like having window presets, clipboard history, snippets, which is a way to save long strings of text and then pull them back at will, and of course extensions and add-ons depending on the launcher you're talking about. In Raycast's case, they have an entire store full of community-made extensions, kind of Raycast's superpower. Because unlike some other apps, they don't have to do all the work. If enough people want something, eventually one will make it. But in my experience, though, there are many other good launchers with big communities, with lots of extensions. Raycast has the most features right out of the box, a very easy workflow. There are still people that prefer Alfred and other apps. Of course, no app is perfect, and personally, I don't necessarily like the closed source subscription model of Raycast, though setting up the free model gives you everything but AI, with a bit of personal frustration that syncing is also a pro feature. Other than that, there's almost nothing you'll miss. But in the time I've been using Raycast, it's only gotten better. And now that it's also on Windows, with the potential to tie all our devices together, except for Linux at least so far, Raycast to me has certainly shown its worth, and it's hard to go back to anything else. Raycast was built by two ex-Facebook engineers.
How many does Facebook store out of that? Do you store any?
Senator, I'm not actually sure what that is referring to.
Thomas Paleman as CEO, and Petr Nikolaev as CTO, whose pictures are extremely hard to find. They started building Raycast in London in late 2020. You see, back in their Facebook days, they were building a bunch of internal tools. That was kind of their deal, building helpful little apps that could help the everyday employees go through all that data. Those tools became very popular. They were very efficient, and lots of people used them over there at Meta, over there at Zuckerberg's Meta. Obviously, they were pretty good at what they did. I'm sure all their previous projects are under NDA, but I'm just imagining a Facebook version of an insider Raycast meta build or whatever. Pull up whatever tool you need real quick. A spotlight built specifically for Meta. Zuckerlight or Raylight. I don't know. Like and subscribe. Eventually, like many others that come out of big tech, they wanted to do their own thing, spread their wings and fly. So they took the leap and started their own business. One of the more brilliant things they did, in my opinion, is within the same year of them starting to build Raycast, they released the API and a developer program on the same day, which I guess is almost unheard of from what I've read. Letting other developers build on what they built, aka extensions, something that could be built by anybody with the know-how and shared with anybody that finds usefulness in the product. Kind of the IKEA effect when it comes to computers. Plus, instead of building everything themselves, they would pretty quickly start building their community. Today, there are over 22,000 developers building on Raycast, or the app, service, launcher, whatever you want to call it, has hundreds of thousands of daily users. They've of course since raised lots of money. A Series B from European VC firm Atomico, along with many other investors. There's no question, Raycast is what I would call a dope app, and I like using it. It's helped me automate processes, get to places on my computer faster, helped organization, and overall just made me feel more connected to my computer, making my computer feel more like an extension of my body than the computer itself. Well, maybe not that much, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like my hand, an extension of my body. And at this point, I've gotten so used to it, when I find myself on a computer that doesn't have it, I miss it. That said, there are other options. Spotlight, after all, comes on your Mac. And if you're on Windows, they have similar stuff in PowerToys. There's one-time payment options, and even some open source stuff. There are definitely a lot of other competitors. However, from the ones I've tried and the ones I've looked into, none are as feature-rich or as modern feeling and work as intricately in an easy way in the way that I find Raycast so helpful. I do love the tool. I find myself using it every day. I'm grateful that it's now on Windows and spreading to more platforms, and I even recommend it to people sometimes. That said, it does remind me of other different but similar feeling tools or communities that choose to take their funding from venture capital. Though it's a completely different functionality, I can't help myself but to be reminded of Arc and how much everybody loved it, their YouTube channel that continues somehow to this day, the community that backed it and even stayed in denial when it kind of went away. Raycast has a very dedicated community, and it stays very active on social media with its YouTube channel and interviews. Interviewing people on how they're using Raycast. They're pretty interesting little interviews because I always like to see how other people are using their technology, especially when it's tools that I'm using as well. It's just fun if you like that sort of thing. But obviously they're doing it for marketing. They want to sell their product. They want you in their subscription. And though it's probably mostly safe, I would never put it on a privacy first computer. Though I'm sure it's better than trusting Google's, but you never know. And the thought that I've had while watching these interviews is like, it's not disclosed, but are these guys getting paid or not? Or are they just having fun and supporting Raycast? Because in one side of my head, I would feel kind of gypped if they were getting paid, but I would also feel like they're not, like the people that are guests are kind of getting gypped if they're not getting paid. But I guess if you love the tool, like, it's interesting, including myself, how attached and cool we feel about our tools. Like we feel it in our heart. Like the browser company, like people loved the browser company because they made this really, really cool tool. And same thing with Raycast. People love Raycast. I love Raycast. And that in turn makes you more like wanting to love the company. You want to love the people behind the things that make the things that you love. I mean, love is kind of an abstract word here, but you get what I'm trying to say. All to say that I'm never gonna say I'll never leave Raycast. I'm always looking for more tools and alternatives. I would love for an open source something like Raycast to catch up in a parody way, or even a one-time payment, something better, a rethink. I like experimenting with different softwares for one, and I'm just not attached to any corporation. Like, nothing against them, they seem like cool people, and I love builders. I like the idea of entrepreneurship, but in today's age, technology moves fast, and you really can't tell who you can trust. But anyway, let me know what you think. If you like both styles of my videos, let me know which ones I should concentrate on. Should I be calling out the bad guys more, or getting more into the tools that we use every day? Like, this is certainly more of a happy thing to research, more of like I can relax and research and play with computer tools. I mean, it's fun, but, you know, meanwhile, Peter Thiel and his army of robots are trying to take over the world, so I don't know. Anyway, I'll either see you in the next video, or I'll see you in the next live. Now, of course, this video isn't meant to be this overarching guide of all the features and how to use them. There's plenty of other videos to go watch about that. But I will say, moving into this new beta, this new version of Raycast, these upgrades, there are a lot of really cool features and new stuff, and I think new ways to make extensions, so it's just going to get better and better. However, like the new Android release, as cool as these features are, it does spark my privacy senses, if you will. For instance, when it comes to talk to type, well, Raycast has one built in now. However, I personally use an open source program called Handy that runs on device, runs faster. So far, they're about equal as much as like how much they recognize each word and are able to type it out. Now, having it directly on Raycast without having to open up Handy in the background is certainly convenient, but Handy runs locally, and I know it's staying on my system, where Raycast is obviously running some sort of Whisper Flow integration or something like that. I'm not really sure, but it's definitely going to the cloud, and it definitely, I've seen it kind of lag a few times, meaning, like it's going out there, like Raycast is hearing it, or OpenAI, or whoever they're using. I haven't dug that deep yet, but there's a lot of features like that. It's not the only feature that's like that. I think the thing we need to constantly keep in mind is no matter how cool these features seem, that many of these are actually very cool and helpful features, not just from Raycast, but with Google and Microsoft. And Microsoft got that backhand from its users, but the new Android is implementing a lot of the same things, and a lot of the new features in Raycast also remind me of those same privacy concerns, privacy nightmares. And all these companies, all the big companies especially, have proven they cannot be trusted with our most personal data. It's not like, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's like, dude, like if you have some corporations store all your personal info, your passport, Google used an example of filling out a form with your passport information in their cloud. They have your passport in their cloud, your social security number, whatever it might be. It's not just the government, it's not just Google itself, it's also hackers and foreign governments, and you know, you have to trust these big corporations. And sure, Google's like more secure and more trustworthy than some other companies maybe, but it just takes one breach and suddenly your information is out there for the scammers. I mean, we're probably already screwed for other reasons, but it's something to keep in mind. When there's articles like this coming out about Meta, yes, that means people were literally looking through people's glasses at their family, their kids. I called up an old friend that has children, the only person I knew that had Ray-Ban glasses. I'm making a video about this coming up, so get subscribed. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it, but I probably will. In either case, yeah, cool features. Think about it before you use it. It's convenient, and I'm probably going to continue to use most of my Raycast stuff. Like these new features, it's convenient. I like a lot of these features. So far, Raycast in particular doesn't seem like it's penetrating to a degree that I'm uncomfortable with.